Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Drew, and I want to welcome you back to Learn How to See Better. And for today, I'd like to get into a discussion about response time, which might catch you off guard. Say, response time? What's response time all about? Why is that relevant here? Well, the topic of this episode, the title of this episode is Read and React. And what that's all a function of is response time. How quickly can we take information and be able to process it and respond effectively? And so what I want to do is take you through a few different examples of how reading and reacting, the old concept of read and react, can apply to your world. I'll use a couple different examples and then really drive the lesson home with how we all can make sure that we are properly reading and reacting in our own lives. So let's dive into it now, shall we? I think that one of the best things about thinking clearly is that you don't have any hindrance on your ability to make decisions. I think that there's instances where sometimes we need to gather information with discernment. We need to be able to gather information in order to make a decision. And we don't want to act in haste, but we don't want to delay in the decision-making process, right? Sometimes having certain feelings about making a decision is going to be what it is, and that's not going to change even when you make certain decisions. So it's important to know that whether it's acting in spite of fear and being courageous, right? Courageousness isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. And I think that's important to make sure that everyone's aware too, because when you really think about the fact that the clarity in our thought being able to allow us to make better decisions is essentially a two-part process. First you read, then you react. The read and react process doesn't mean that you're just stuck. You're just processing to take that next move into consideration. I think football's so great for analogies because they give an instance where there are a lot of visual situations where you can just kind of see, if you've had any exposure to watching people play football, you can understand some of these scenarios I'm talking about. Case in point, when we talk about the concept of read and react, you can think of a quarterback. The quarterback is the eyes of the offense, the leader of the team, the one that's responsible for really leading the team and putting the points on the board and guiding the team to victory from an offensive standpoint. And so as soon as that ball's hiked, every play, they've got to be able to make sure they understand and ascertain the situation they're walking into. And really actually a pretty good, one of the best examples of this is the now retired soon-to-be Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning. We can think of the many times he's famous for calling audibles at the line of scrimmage. An audible, for those that don't know it, is when you walk into a situation and you see something that's different from what you planned for. And essentially what you do is you put yourself in a position to take advantage of that maladjustment, right? So if you know you're about to throw a big pass and you're going to need time for the play to develop, and you see, 10 out of 11 defenders, bunched in the line of scrimmage, just ready to storm the front lines, you might want to drop into a different mode of proceeding. You might want to switch and call up an audible and change the play up. And so even when you have situations where you have to call an audible, it's just understanding that you might have a plan, but when you see that the world, or in this case the defense, or in this case the world, is throwing something different at you, how can you read and react to that? And you might not have all the information, but you got to keep marching towards the goal line. You can't just stop in the face of a new trick play that the defense is throwing at you. You still have to make that same effort, that same stride, that same intentional move ahead. So when we look at that, that's something we must keep in mind. We have to read and react. It's not read and read and read and read and stay stuck on that chapter and never finish the book. We have to react and continue to move forward. When you play defense, particularly the middle linebacker spot, right? It's the main eyes of the defense. When that ball is snapped, you've immediately got to be the first one to essentially know which way the play is going to go. right? You've got to know whether you're looking at a pass play to defend against or run play to defend against. Are you taking a step back to move into coverage, or are you blitzing forward to stop the run? So just being able to have the awareness of that within just a couple of moments, you'll have to make a decision with every single play. It makes it pretty par for the course to understand that you don't always have a lot of information to go off of when you need to make an important decision. Sometimes only you have a tidbit, but it's enough to enable you to still move forward. So you have to forgive me if I'm a little heavy on the sports analogies. I think it's just a common ground for us to all draw from because everyone's had that experience with watching some sort of a competitive action between two teams. But what if you don't follow sports that much and you say, okay, well, how can that really apply to me? Those analogies, those examples don't really hit the mark. Well, I think in a nutshell, we get it. We get the idea that we have to be able to consistently move forward and consistently make decisions no matter what, right? Whether it's the spring, the summer, the fall, or the winter, any season of life, you need to be able to, kind of read the tea leaves, read the weather charts, and see how you should best go out into the world, right? You would be pretty upset if you were in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's 100 degrees plus a good section of the year, and you come out in a winter coat. To head out to take a walk, right? That would be a misalignment of your read, and meaning you reacted the inappropriate way. But let's even dial in a little bit further. Let's say you're looking at how you want to really look at your own life, your own existence. We're coming up on May 2020, and a lot of people are thrown off right now from what their January 2020 plans were. And when the world's changed up, information's coming at you pretty fast and furious. In some instances, you feel like you're being inundated by it, right? So how do you best read? How do you become a speed reader, right? Well, you have to learn to find the right way to slow down the information. Because remember, we are in the information age right now, and there's more information out there about the universe than any of us can individually process effectively. So we have to break that down and say, well, of all the information in the world that I could tune into and learn about right now, what's really applicable to me? What's the most relevant information to changes in my world that apply to me right now, right? If the world's changed a little bit in Malaysia, but it's not different much for you in Montana, then, you don't have to spend, all your time reading about the details of Malaysia to figure out what May looks like in Montana, right? But it's how we read that information and how we respond and react to it. So number one, you have to take a smaller slice of information to attempt to digest, right? Because with everything going on right now, the information's coming in a lot of different angles. There's the health piece, there's the economic piece, there's the what's going to happen, there's the people's freedoms and civil liberties, all these points of discussion and all these points of information and influence by opinions. If you're tuned into like what's going on in the world very heavily, it's going to be like, it probably seems pretty massive. It probably seems a little overwhelming. So you have to have filters for focus and focus on the information that you're going to take in and do something with. Because to try and be the knower of all about what's happening right now, you'll just be glued to some sort of information source on nonstop. And at a certain point, that's not even living. So how can you read into what's going on, what's relevant into your world? Well, how you do that is you break down the chunks and identify the key elements to what means the most to you in your life right now. And then you start to look at, okay, how do I preserve or enhance or make alterations or adjustments to that to maximize my own happiness, right? Because we still have the responsibility to maintain our mental health, our physical health, our positive outlook on life, regardless of the details of what's happening in the outside world. And that's just something that we need to keep at the front of mind. So how we react to information, again, is going to be key to how quickly we can get moving in whatever capacity that might be. That might be physically, that might be moving towards, a more positive mindset, right? If you're struggling to see, that there could be bright days ahead, right? But if you're tuned into doom and gloom, it's a little bit different. And if you stay reading that type of information, it's going to change how you react, especially if it's a lot of fear-based information. That's going to create anxiety and show up in the real world in your life as paralysis, and you never want that. So be able to react quickly. It's not even about saying you're going on a low information diet. It's more about saying I'm only going to consume information, most relevant for me to keep, yourself from getting overloaded, because once you get overloaded, you get confused. And what do confused people do? Nothing. And the idea is you read and react so you don't get stuck. So that's just one of the nuggets of motivation and inspiration I wanted to share with you all today, hoping that you can apply it to your own individual situations in the right, most appropriate way, so you can find your own happiness through these times where very many are being exposed to struggle. So positive outlook, positive outcome, and everybody keep a strong, mental, healthy mindset. And you will too enjoy a brighter day ahead. So thanks for joining today. I appreciate everyone, and hope you like those sports analogies. I'll be coming at you with more good stuff in the next episode. Thanks.